takes a lot of its colours and its shapes from architectural elements from London. So you've got slates and bricks and chalk being the mortar between the bricks. We've been working together for 30 years in London, and for this collection, it felt like the perfect place to start.
The reason I chose ink as a word was because it referred to possibly my favourite colour of my favourite collection, which is Muse. I like the word ink because it's an antidote to the digital world that we live in. It's this sort of organic, fluid element that changes and undulates in its colours. So the tonality is varied, which is also very relevant to the Muse collection. We've obviously been reflecting on our last 10 years, and one of the most exciting parts was when we launched Muse 10 years ago this September. Massimo Bottura, the chef, did the opening for us, and I think his whole idea was that he was going to do this kind of take on the English tradition. He did gin fizz and mini fish and chip experiments, which was very British and incredibly funny. Anyway, that was one of the highlights of our relationship with Mutina.
Geometry has always been in the roots of our design, and we wanted to take that geometry and bring it into a tile, and that became puzzle. Obviously, we couldn't produce hundreds of different designs, but at the same time, we didn't want everyone's walls or floors to look the same. So we chose, I think, 4 in the end, 4 different designs, which randomly mixed create pretty much an infinite effect. Puzzle is our only collection where we've really gone into intensity with color. And we've also mixed colors. So you've got a green and pink tile, which, by the way, was the first pink tile Mutina ever did.
Massimo. His nickname is Jimmy the Tick. We call him the Tick because ticks are those creatures that stick in your body and you just can't get rid of them. Massimo is a little bit like that. A nice tick, a really friendly tick, a creative tick, a tick that knows a lot about ceramics, and probably our favourite tick.
When we started working on Primavera, we were trying to find a way to represent in a model all these little pieces of colour. And the way we did it, we ended up getting a whole load of coloured pencils and breaking them and taking out the lead and sticking them into plaster that we'd already pre-coloured. So you ended up with this beautiful array of different colours, like a rainbow effect inside the clay. These little strands of coloured pencil were then translated into little strands of porcelain, which we dropped in a random way into the base colour of the tile. Every collection has been a huge amount of experimentation. The starting point for Mistral was to have a 3-dimensional tile that you could basically build, so you could create a wall or a screen. And we wanted to design something that you could have either a solid wall, or you could have it as a partial wall, so that it's like a louver, so that you could see through it.
Tick-tock is obviously the noise of the ratcheting cog of a clock turning through time. And our new collection, Time, is something which talks more about the way in which objects over time have become either worn down by the elements and made rough, or have been interacted with humans and become smooth through use. Actually, the fundamental was the texture. That was the challenge. One which was incredibly matte and incredibly smooth and felt like it had been, I don't know, that people had used it for millennia. And the other was something that wanted to be much rougher and have more texture and caught the light differently and felt like it was perhaps being eroded by the weather and actually made sort of more natural.
At the launch of our first collection, Muse, there was a huge banner in lights that said, "You can only work with people you like." And I have to say, for Mutina, that is so true. We obviously like to work with people we like, but we love working with Mutina. You know, just having dinners together. It's a social experience as well as a design experience, which is really quite hard to find at that level in design.
Mutina moving into the world of editions and special production and actually objects rather than surfaces has been really fascinating. For the 10th anniversary of our relationship, we're also showing some small tables called the Rivington table that we've designed in ceramic. On the corner of Rivington Street was the first restaurant we went to with the Mutina guys in London, was called the Rivington Restaurant. And that's where I think they had their first dose of fish and chips. It was poetic justice to name this collection after the Rivington Restaurant.